In this video, I'm going to do 3 examples of how you can use the grouping method to factor trinomials. Before we do this, just a reminder that trinomials will be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. And we are going to be looking at the coefficient of the x squared, which is the a, and the constant c. We're going to start, this is called the a times c method, so we're going to multiply a times c. So in example 1, we're going to look, you got 2 is the coefficient on the a squared and c is the constant. So 5 is the constant. So really -5, but for our purposes right now, we're just going to concentrate on the numbers. So 2 times 5 is 10. And then we're going to look at all the pairs of numbers that we can multiply together to give us 10. So we could do 1 times 10, we could do 2 times 5. Those are the only options we have. We choose the pair of numbers that we think we can add or subtract as needed to give us the number in the middle, the -9. Well, 2 and 5 are not going to make a 9, but 1 and 10 should. And then we have to, once you determine the numbers, then worry about the signs. So now that I've chosen my numbers, I see that with this being a negative, I know that I have to have opposite signs when I multiply them to make this negative. And then to get a -9, I want to make the 10 negative and the 1 positive. Okay, because 1 minus 10 would be -9. So now that I've chosen the numbers and I have the signs, I'm going to rewrite the trinomial with 4 terms. I'm going to say 2a squared, and then I'm going to say positive 1a, and I'm going to say minus 10a, and bring down -5. So all I've done is I rewrote the middle term, -9a, as 1a minus 10a. It's still the same thing. I haven't changed it. I just have 4 terms now. Now that I have 4 terms, I can factor by grouping. So looking at the first, you still look for your GCF, but there's nothing that can come out of all my terms. So just looking at the first 2 terms, I can pull a out, and that leaves 2a plus 1. Looking at my last 2 terms, I can pull out -5, and that leaves 2a plus 1. Okay, so now I've got a common factor of 2a plus 1 that comes out to the front, and I'm left with a minus 5, and I'm done. Okay. And number 2, I'm going to do 6y squared minus 11y minus 10. So by doing it this way, you've got a more systematic way of factoring trinomials. And if you do it the same way every time, you're less likely to get bogged down on all the different possible ways that you can get this thing to factor. So I'm going to start by saying 6 times -10 is -60. Okay, I'm not going to worry about the negative just yet. I need to list all the pairs of numbers that would make 60. So 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15, 5 times 12, 6 times 10, 7 does not go, 8 does not go, 9 does not go, and I have 10. So since I went in order, once I hit the 10, this number, I know I've got everything. Okay? Now which pair can I add or subtract to make 11? Well, I think 4 and 15 might do it. Again, I need opposite signs because of that, and to get the -11, I want the bigger number to be the negative. So I need a positive 4 and a -15. So I can write this as 6y squared plus 4y minus 15y minus 10. Now I'm going to just look at the first 2 terms. I have a common factor of 2y. That leaves me with 3y plus 2. And in the last 2 terms, I have a common factor of -5. That leaves, so I divide -15y by -5. That gives me positive 3y. And -10 divided by -5 is plus 2. And again, inside my 2 terms, I have a common factor of 3y plus 2. So now I can pull that out to the front because it's my GCF. That leaves me 2y minus 5. And that is my answer. And by the way, these examples are coming from the sheet that you did for homework. All right, and then number 3. 3 times 1 is 3. This one should be easy because there's only one way I can factor 3. 1 times 3. Can I add or subtract 1 and 3 to make a -5? No, I can't. And I don't have any other options here. I'm not going to worry with fractions or anything like that. So so I did A times C. 3 times 1 gives me 3. And when I break it down, I can do 1 times 3, but it's a prime number. There's no other way that I can break it down. And then I've got to be able to add or subtract those numbers to get the number in the middle. Well, if I add them, I get 4. If I subtract them, I get 2. There's no way I can get that -5 in the middle. So that tells me that this one is prime. It's not going to factor. And that's my answer there. All right, so let me know if you need help with these. And that is how you can use the grouping method to factor trinomials.